Most people attempting to understand the Arab-Israeli conflict, which has lasted well over 100 years, tend to focus on it through the prism of hatred. They view the conflict as one based on distrust. A poll released by the Accord Center of the Hebrew University Social Psychology for Social Change, published in February 2021, found the following. 1. Nearly half of ultra-Orthodox and national religious youth expressed hatred towards Arabs. 2. They supported stripping them of their citizenship, a sentiment shared by 23% of secular youth. The poll was conducted amongst 1,100 respondents between the ages of 16 and 18. One needs to be careful not to fall into the trap of lies, damn lies, and statistics, as there are far too many examples which contradict this poll. Cooperation and interaction between Arabs and Jews involves many facets, including economic cooperation, common educational projects, medical help by Israeli doctors and nurses, both Jews and Arabs, traveling to the Palestinian villages and towns, and Palestinian Israeli women working closely together, trying to bring an end to the violence and the hatred. The most well-known of the combined Israeli-Arab projects is the Peres Center for Peace and Innovation, which was founded in 1996 by the late President of Israel, Shimon Peres. The center develops and implements impactful and meaningful programs with a focus on promoting a prosperous environment, nurturing and highlighting Israeli innovation, and paving the way for a shared living between all of Israel's citizens and a lasting peace between Israel and its neighbors. Since 2002, the award-winning Twin Peace Sports Schools, known as the TPSS, has brought together Arab and Jewish boys and girls aged 8 to 12 to play on mixed teams, participate in interlanguage learning, and build bonds of friendship. The area where cooperation and success can best be seen is in the medical environment. The organization Road to Recovery is an organization of thousands of Israeli volunteers driving Palestinians requiring treatment, mostly children, from crossings between Israel and the Palestinian Authority to hospitals in Israel. Road to Recovery is apolitical and motivated solely by humanitarian interests. It is believed that the organization's assistance, besides being motivated by compassion, also generates goodwill, deepens connections, and contributes to peace between the two peoples. The total distance traveled by volunteers in 2019 was about 1,260,000 kilometers, encompassing 10,105 trips and catering to 20,000 patients, mostly children. But the mission statement best expresses the role of the organization. Our volunteers seek to break down the barriers on a personal level, transporting Palestinian patients on round trips from the West Bank and Gaza to hospitals throughout Israel for treatment, hospitalization, and checkups. Another project which has begun to have major results and benefits is the joint economic cooperation between Israeli officials in the Gilboa region and Palestinian officials in JENIN. In October 2009, a new project got underway, promoting tourism and travel between the two areas. Major new business efforts and tourist attractions have been initiated in JENIN. The two regions are planning a joint industrial zone which would bridge the border. Palestinians would produce locally made handicrafts and sell them through the Gilboa region to other regions in the world. Another possible project is a joint language center where Israelis and Palestinians would teach each other Arabic and Hebrew as well as other aspects of their cultural heritage. But it's in the area of education, and only with future generations, that lasting peace will eventually be achieved. Young Arab and young Jewish children studying together in the same schools and classrooms is still a dream a long way off. But there are several schools where this has become a reality. One of those schools is in the Galil, an aptly named Beit Sefer Galil. It was set up in the late 90s as a bilingual Arab-Jewish school under the umbrella of the Hand in Hand NGO. They operate several schools in the country, the biggest being in Jerusalem. Kibbutz Tuval, situated in the Galilee, decided to send their first graders there because the parents were not happy with the local elementary school. People I spoke to all mentioned the personal reasons for their decision. once said the following, and I quote, "We definitely identified with the idea of the school as an opportunity for our kids to come into contact and meet Arab kids from a young age and to learn better Arabic." Typically, children in Israel do not get to meet Arab kids or kids from other sectors, religious, Haredi, until much later in life, definitely after school. Arabic is only a mandatory subject from 7th to 10th grade, which as far as language learning goes, is extremely late. It is not taken seriously either by the system nor by the parents, and most Jewish kids leave school with almost no knowledge of the Arabic language, certainly without the basic abilities to have a simple conversation. The best example of the cooperation and the fallout when political intervention rears its head is illustrated in the example of a specific combined company project. SodaStream had been a mildly successful drinks product produced in the 80s. It was revitalized. The company's headquarters were set up in Ma'ale Adumim, a Jewish settler city in the West Bank. At its height, the company employed close to 500 Arabic workers and several hundred Israelis from the surrounding settlements. The BDS, Boycott, Disinvestment, Sanctions movement, saw this as a potential target for the focus of sanctions and disinvestment. As the BDS campaign against SodaStream increased, the management decided to move the company a few hundred meters back into Israel and made all 500 Palestinian workers redundant. This left close to 500 families without any formal income and dependent on handouts. A very, very important organization is the Women Wage Peace, which was founded in the summer of 2014 in the aftermath of Operation Protective Edge. Women Wage Peace is the largest grassroots movement in Israel, whose purpose is to promote a political agreement involving women in the process. Today, the movement has more than 44,000 members. In conclusion, in the short video, we have only been able to touch on very few of the very important organizations, projects that bash the myth that the only contact between Israelis, Palestinians, and Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews is one that is based on hatred is a total myth.